Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Just laughter.
My voice is coming.
In Lisbon, I also
Every
built my own
video.
support structures.
Okay, so this is just a video. Does it need to be owned or is it just audio?
This is just audio for you.
Should I start the class? It will be audio. Audio is to happen doing video.
For me, this is different with you.
Carefully.
I am totally uninterested.
Oh, okay.
Wanting to leave? Okay. Let's start the class without wasting any teacher's time. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, peace be upon you. And my work is on criminal law, situated in Basiti, working on the juvenile justice system in Pakistan. And my relation is with Organizational Innovative Youth for Competence, where I am the director for legal affairs. And basically, my job is all about juggling. In criminal law, the juvenile system is obviously about the procedure of criminal litigation, which is where we are going to start today. Is my voice reaching everyone? If so, please confirm and then look at
It's
the
your
rest.
voice. Please open up.
So that way.
Let's talk about the Juvenile Justice System Act, but before that, it's important for us to know what the case history is and essentially what the purpose of creating it is. We have many laws available. Some are in the form of ordinances and some are in the form of orders. Difference because all of you are lucky students. It is known to everyone. But if not, I clear it up here. Our system is a parliamentary system. The Senate and the National Assembly base on an act which is a codified document, meaning the basic sections there. The law comes from parliament because the legislature is what makes our laws. When an act occurs, it goes through a procedure, a session of 21 days, the entire procedure when we address the parliament. We need to give them notices 21 days in advance. And there is a procedure when anyone goes through these procedures, they prepare the form of an act, Juvenile Justice System Act, which in short form before we talk about the JJSA, let's understand the law we had before. Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. It is explicitly stated if you look at Article 25 or Article 35, Clause 3, it has been stated that there is protection for juveniles, meaning for the children.
The discussion will be about children's rights. They will be protected.
The heart will be involved, but that was not enough.
It was stated there that
Punjabi
the
was
law
intrigued.
would be explained.
Being there was enough. During Musharraf's government, when he was president, an ordinance was promulgated. That was ours, AJK. That is for joining.
Firm Practice System Ordinance.
2000. They had promulgated it, and its purpose was first of all, we've come to talk about it in the Constitution. but it's about implementation.
No.
It was not there for the protection of children or for the rights of children. Therefore, CRC was done.
A convention for rights
I'm
did
saying
take
coming
place.
soon. We will create a law that works on children's rights and their protection. So what happened when our country faced this pressure? He said we should also make such a law double. Then what happened was that an ordinance was passed, and the standards of the ordinance, it's usually for almost a whole month, hosted by President Rimmelgate. Ordinances happen either when our parliament isn't in session or when it's dissolved. Indeed, in our country, our state's president has the authority to initiate an ordinance gate any law because it is an emergency, as I told you. When something becomes ours, there is a whole procedure for it. When Sharaf Sahib arrived, it was clear that the summaries had been dissolved. At that time, you were not in the summary session. That's why they passed an emergency ordinance, our Juvenile Justice System Ordinance, but it was repealed in the Honorable High Court of Lahore's PLD 15. If you read it, it's written there that this ordinance is so important for us. It is not sufficient for us to work on our juveniles because there were quite a few things that were not mentioned there. Inside law, whenever we go into negotiations, obviously we go under this law, which tells us the juvenile justice system we have is a procedure, but it's not your substantive law. What we have is the Pakistan Penal Code, which is substantive law. Now let's talk about what we always say about the Juvenile System Ordinance, the Juvenile System Act. If we talk about juvenile, what is this word? Juvenile means anyone who is a youthful offender, not yet 18 years old. It falls into the category of a juvenile. Now the question arises, the aim is to consider a child as a juvenile when they turn 2 years old. Even if he is 4 years old, he will still be called a juvenile. So for that, if we look at the sections, which is told to us in PPC as age, it has been told to us a child up to 7 years, if commits any criminal act, gets involved in litigation, if any crimes happen, they will not be considered crimes because at that time he is in his infancy phase, unaware of what he has done. So here it's deemed accidental. CRPC, which is our procedural law, which is our substantive law, it supports those under which we conduct all our actions that are criminal law. Under what do we do this? Under the CRPC, our punishments are defined in substantive laws, but the procedure that specifies which courts will go where and how your case will proceed, that's all part of the CPC. Whether or not the criminal procedure note applies, it's unfortunate that our amendment has not been made yet in 1998. While looking at India's CRPC, it dates back to 1973 and they have substantially amended it. In the DRPC, some sections have been mentioned, which is section 29B3. 29B3.
99.
All clauses become 497.
When we talk about juvenile,
If when Nile learns completely,
Sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes offense happens.
what will
it's
be
stated
done
there,
just as
will
we
major offenders be dealt with the same courts? Will the trial procedure be the same? When it comes to obligatory matters, it has not been defined in the CRPC. In the Criminal Procedure Code, what was told to us in section 29B is basically who will deal with juveniles. There will be honorable magistrates who will deal with it. It is clearly written there about dealing with juveniles. The magistrates of first class will deal with it, but that alone is not sufficient. Along with the magistrate first class, the provincial government has also empowered them to run these juvenile monitors ahead. Proceed, because this is a special law. So program them
The
accordingly.
government we have
She exercises power over the
class
magistrate.
magistrate.
Under Section 29B, it is stated that they can conduct juvenile cases. When we talk about Section 399 of the Criminal Procedure Code, then in this we are described an age that will be the age of a juvenile. So her will be 60 years old. Now we will discuss here about a juvenile, like I told you before. If it's a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old child, they will also be considered juveniles. If he commits all those crimes, if so, should we assume that the BBC said that a child under 7 years old committing a crime is not considered a crime? But here on 399,
I am present in the CRPC.
section told us that basically the juveniles will be 16 years. In Pakistan, there's always been a debate on what the juvenile age should essentially be. That's why he needs to be cleared. The Juvenile Act has clarified an age for us. It's been made clear to us. Whenever someone asks you what the age of majority will be, always tell them it will be 10 to. This Juvenile Act has been in existence for 18 years. If you read 2018, our juvenile system,
This system one of 2018.
in this you are explained with the full definitions.
It has been mentioned that the festival for juveniles.
They are teenagers.
There's no need to panic.
If your PPC says there should be age 16, your CRPC says there should be 16. If we talk about Islam, then in Islam there is a system of purity. At an age when a child reaches puberty, what happens to them next? Any law can be applicable, but there are some conditions laid down here. The same thing is also laid in the law. When we look at the children around us, there are certain decisions left to discretion. What is discretion? What if,
Very.
meaning
The
a
world
child
needs that. That's a
is,
big deal for others. The very best.
Oh, he does a job there.
Blessings
What's
of
in
Allah
it?
be upon him.
sorry, if a 10-year-old child is in a war, we will have to look at its mental condition. The court will describe it. This is the description of the court. That child is capable beyond his years. Is his mental condition such that he can provide evidence? Is his mental condition such that he knew what madness he committed? These are some discretions left up to the court. Discussing here if a child commits any offense. And if the court is empowered, if it is on his discretion, it is the court's responsibility to observe what we see around us. There is a 15-year-old child, but their mental condition isn't such that they're unaware of what they are
To do.
There are some of our children. Look in your homes, around, in relatives, or in schools and colleges, seeing that you are wiser than your years. They are capable of providing evidence. Here, the conversation takes a different turn, but because we are discussing the system that was created, the age given to us there for a juvenile is less than 18 years, meaning when a child commits any offense. So how will it be dealt with? There are around 1,500 to 2,000 juveniles at this time. There are many under trials, and the number could be much higher. A lot of under trials, but dealing with a child. It's important that a child should be treated the same way you would treat major offenders. Here we have a system that we built, which the Juvenile Justice System Act clarified for us, having 24 sections, because in section 25, they're telling you about the ordinance repeal. Some committees were formed here for the juveniles. And one thing that if we look across our entire Pakistan, you will notice is that if someone any juvenile, if someone commits crimes, then there's something about them. Effective class is applied, meaning he is for the rest of his life. One cannot write in any civil service exams, meaning the child's folly or his committed offense. It's better to take it to a point where his entire life is ruined than to leave it as it is. It was stated in the Juvenile Justice System Act that you form a committee and find a way for diversion. It was said for the root of this diversion, who possessed
DVD.
and let the accused be seated together, let their guardians be seated together. Whatever damage has been done should be compensated. And then, whatever system you have, the committees that are there among you, if what you're currently working on gets completed without any problems, then there's no need to take it to the last miles. But still, if the offense of a juvenile goes to court, how will the entire procedure be? Where will we go? In which phase? Can a juvenile get bail or not? These are all things your juvenile justice system covers, gives a lot, a lot. This is a very small act, but a very special one. Whenever we talk about special laws, we say that a special law always supersedes a general law. That's why I told you that whenever we talk about age, especially juveniles, we will consider it as less than 18. And if a child under 10 years old does something wrong, then it will also come under the discretion of courts, or it won't even be considered a crime. If we read sections of the penal code, you are also being confused there. It said that during those fancy times, it was written that the child is in infancy. If he commits any crime during his infancy process, it's not considered a crime. If we look back to when our ordinance was in effect, Lahore seems to be our high point of light. The PLD I told you about, you can write it or read it. It's a good judgment from the Lahore High Court, PLV 2005, page number 15. It is stated there that what you have, juvenile justice system ordinances, is basically unconstitutional.
Not shared either.
It's unreasonable and inapplicable because many things weren't even mentioned there. Then, once this act is prepared and everything is explained to you within this act, it's also clarified. I have explained to you the difference between an ordinance and an act. Then juvenile courts were established.
The child
What the
is
young man
Neil.
did with him.
Yes, then it is like
Treatment,
this.
obviously.
Can't you do it the way you do?
In family law, we always discuss child welfare. When we talk about major offenders, like if we look there, we always talk about the welfare of children when we talk.
What
Where
about
the
them?
deal will be fair. The child will stay with the mother or with the father. There, the best interest is considered. But in the Juvenile Justice System Act, it's always we look at the security and safety. Why do children commit crimes? The daily consequence of pain has been discussed as to why juveniles commit crimes. Children can commit crimes in many ways. Even if their financial condition is not good, they can commit crimes. They might steal, rob, or even murder. In addition to this, their psychology was observed. Nowadays, you will find many old things online, but if you try new things and write them yourself, write 15 causes. Why do children commit crimes? You will have a good assignment on the juvenile justice system. If we look at the psychology of children in today's era, so those are some games that make them violent. PUBG is very much involved in social media. Children are there a lot. Some go on a political level, while others, if you look at movies, Indian movies, if you watch them, you learn from there things we have in our homes that a child picks up from. So it affects their psychology. It has an impact. You see, when we talk to many such children, most of them have this desire to rule because they see in movies that there are dances or such people who having proper weapons and ruling the world doesn't seem to be lawful. Let's understand that they can defeat, and a reign of happiness is theirs here. There's a system of psychology for this, and we have rehabilitation centers here, and it's also stated in this act. The best thing is also said to be, if you are then government, she's working on it. So a rehabilitation center has been established. And if there are already organizations working on Gabriel, they should be licensed to support children and provide them with better training. And it's not that he should be sent to jail. What will happen if going to jail further affects the child's psychology? There will be offenders. those who are habitual offenders, then the child will be on his own. If he stays with them under psychology, he will become just like them. Full enjoyment Sundays. It will be ruined. It will end. So here, this system was created that juvenile courts should be separate. And how we with children in juvenile courts, we can talk about how it was said that children should never be, when presented in court, they will not be handcuffed, they will not be made to feel like they are in a place where they are being wronged. Magistrates should always seat juveniles on the set and talk to them with love. Then take all these things, whatever their statement is, from them, and efforts will be made so that during the trial, if committees play their role and families play their role, it will also address the concerns of both the aggrieved and the offended. Committees are involved in between what is our procedure when a crime happens and someone accused is arrested. Where are they kept? It is kept in peace for up to 24 hours. You can keep it for 24 hours, after which you present them. So the procedure of the code there, when any guilty artist is arrested, it's also the police's responsibility to inform those committees. Those who die mango diamonds, what is empowerment, or the organizations that have formed the committee, who will be coined and who will do that? The SO of the station will call them, and from there your meter starts. It means if your meter gets solved right there outside, there is no need to take him to jail or arrest him for the offense. First thing comes handcuffs. Secondly, we'll talk about bills because we have topics ahead, a small act. I'm just giving you a background on how it is because our constitution also mentions this. Our CRTC talks about this too. Our PPC,
Yes, I am also
it
good.
happened, but it wasn't enough to.
We will be able to understand
simply
the
put,
juvenile justice system.
what should I do?
We code it properly.
The work of an artist also
Performing committees.
How will the procedure be with
deal with it this
we'll
way.
go to all those things.
We will study the bonuses system that was made in 2018
In Mr. Sharif's era.
when they passed this ordinance. As I told you, the CRC, which stands for Children Rights Convention by the UNO, they held a convention for the first time and explained that we around the world, to children, we will produce products, work on their rights, and in this way, then Pakistan, when pressure was applied, Mr. Mashahid passed the coordinates because at that time the parliament wasn't in session, it had been dissolved. So what we have, the power of our president is that of emergency. If the parliament is not in session, or if it dissolves because our parliament does not do a 369-degree break, they have approximately 3 sessions in a year. And the rest, these tasks cannot be carried out without going through those sessions, those procedures. The law comes into force
Such bylaws pass.
if an ordinance is passed and the parliament does not rectify it.
What will happen then? That law.
It will automatically expire because the duration of an ordinance is 4 months. But in order to promulgate this, the High Court stated that until you enact a law on Jobian oil, how will the children's law, the procedure, operate within the judicial system? What we have will operate under the ordinance of 2000, but there were some leakages, hence the need to enact this law. I did not discuss Section 97(1) of the Code of Criminal Procedure. Those who practice on the criminal side know that whenever we apply for bails in non-bailable offenses, we do Section 497, Clause 497, which is yours, states that it is written there by CRTC, if a child is arrested for a non-bailable offense, they should still be granted bail. But will every child be given a bail? Does every child at the time of orphans was actually juvenile? If the child is in rehabilitation or an institution because we cannot send them to jails, there are rehabilitations here. This is about children. If you visit them in prison, They have also created a separate institution for them. It's better to call it a rehabilitation center.
Are made.
If you meet children there, they are also taught. A lot of things are
Also,
taught.
keep the
A
job.
child grows up during the quiet procedure that is ongoing.
For example, the rear gets
At the
bigger.
time of the offense, if the age was 13 years, 12 years, 14 years, and now proceeding during trial, because our system, quite a lot of dates are received
They're
in time.
being
It becomes a long procedure, and if the child reaches 18 years of age, will he stay in rehabilitation or will he be transferred or shifted elsewhere? This has also been informed to us.
that.
Today we have System 2018 to study. I have already told you about the Juvenile Justice System Act, which has a total of 25 sections. In Section 25, it was mentioned that it was repealed except for Section 24. Besides, this is applicable to all of Pakistan. It's the same everywhere in Pakistan. This is your JJ Surya Jai Jai Sa. 2018 will be the year of implementation for whatever proceedings there are. From your juvenile years to your child years, the procedure that will be followed will all be under the same system. The sections that were in the CRPC, he was in a deep sleep, and our Flower 97 Plaza was running under this, which is our common procedure, but no love.
will go.
The magistrate will run it as a first class, but those specially empowered by the provincial government, due to the defective clause, the juvenile systems, the act that came into effect regarding any defective item or class on the child. The fact is, if he doesn't take the civil service exams, his entire life could be ruined. It was also exempted if such an offense happened by a child. So it's not that Pakistan can't take the civil service exams. He will sit in the civil service exams. One's life cannot be fully ended. So these were a few things we were learning about what an introduction is and what its preference was. There are more sections ahead that we will read. If anyone has questions, you can ask.
I have a question.
Article 11 is in the Constitution,
Yes,
in
yes.
which it is mentioned in class 2 that class 3 misdemeanor below the age of 13 means they won't work in any age activity, etc. In Pakistan, they do this meme.
Let me tell you, this
People
is
want
on
this. It comes into child labor today.
Laboratory.
Now, what we have here is that if we look at our law, if we consider this aspect, if we're talking about children, looking at their psychology, there are many kids here. Now, even very young ones, I have seen with 8 years, 7 years, working in your workshops, they were carrying the child labor. So, who will implement this? The government will do it. We don't take actions. Our problem is this: you standing up for denial, take action. You have the law, you have a child labor law. You've been told about the juvenile system. It's all yours. It relates to the law. Now, if we talk about children working and it's mentioned in the constitution, then it falls under child labor. Like, you want labor, you can contact us a bit. You can tell them that this child is working here in a way that's not in the law, but our understanding is that if someone is doing something, they are doing it. It doesn't concern us. Our child doesn't go there. If some harassment or abuse is happening with the
Your
children,
opinion, please.
people don't like to speak in this either, or they dodge with a sigh out of respect for understanding that there is a small child. If we consider this, I get a lot of cases online. I don't think it's wrong to say, but there are cases of some harassment, some child abuse that came to me. There was a case where a child committed murder at that time. He was living his life. There were two children, 13 or 14 years, and how their meter had run. It had run a bit by ordinance. Because we did not have a unity at that time, it is about the year 2015. If we take steps, something will happen. A lot is happening in Pakistan. There are many laws, but they are not being implemented until you or we do so. No voice is raised for this.
If the children are not working, then their home is being run by children. After all,
This is what I
treat the
told
others
you.
benefit.
There are conditions. Like I said before, why does a child commit injustice? There are reasons what those causes are. If you all write down those 15 causes in which I gave you an example, the feng shui combustion of Siddiq is bad for someone. So what do the elders do? Look at this. Barking. If you see, we have ITs against them, right? We have a strategy against the beggars, but what happens? We are taking steps on these. You have all the tools, but what's being implemented? When will it be implemented? Only when you fight this mafia. And behind everything
ABD.
is a lie. If these child circumstances are not good right now, and on this basis we say so, has it been exempted in the law that you employ this child? If there's no exemption, it means the father should work. He is not drunk, can't support, cannot escape from the whirlpool. Some months are such that, as per our laws, if there is a veiled lady, she cannot be summoned to the court. There is a procedure where you appoint a commissioner. If you need to take a statement, you can do that.
When will you do it? When you know the law?
Knowledge is gained and you move forward and work towards it.
Look at the financial conditions this time. I think it's
Everyone's
not good.
Yes, Your Excellency.
The law
a
says
mess, anything.
that some things are wrong, some are right, but it's all about taking the bigger perspective.
What a beauty.
It falls under the Justice System Act, not this. This is labor law. Look at the exemptions given in labor.
Then they explain the reasons.
The child has no father or guardian. There are children who are alone.
So, for this, what institutions do we have? We also have institutions for this. Do
They
you?
treat the children
They
there.
provided us with all food and
And
water.
this is the essence of responsibility.
It's not just my or your responsibility. It's the government's, our state's responsibility. If our state takes on the duty of our protection, the state itself will protect us. And if the state has said that every citizen of Pakistan is protected by the law, by the constitution of Pakistan, it means that every person, was he protecting everyone? It means he was protecting the Avengers too, isn't it? Then there come exceptions.
Very much so.
If you have more questions under the juvenile justice system, because I have lectures ahead which I will define gradually, then you will understand.
Okay. There's another question about the CRC, which is binding on Pakistani courts.
It was a convention by the United Nations. Our organization had a convention that started. I told you this history, that this is the history. First of all, what they did was the CRC convention, meaning the Convention for Protecting the Rights of Children, in which they said that all the children in the world, they should be protected, their rights should be worked on. We work on women's rights, we also work on men's rights. It's not that there's no work being done on it, because in the eyes of the law, everyone is equal. But there's still no such law for children like there is in the Constitution, Article 25 and 35, Clause 3. So it was mentioned here to make a law regarding children, but there was no such creation. Then you see under the PC, it has now become 29, 399, 497. You are operating under it. Establishing a special law is very necessary in implementing any law, because there is a general law whenever there is a special law, like our family law.
Allah is
Especially
Allah
wherever he goes, he always supersets the general law. That is why it was very important to develop a special law regarding our Juvenile Justice System Ordinance 2000. The shape it took.
Put beautiful scent
He
in.
came to
But
us.
it was
repealed in 2005. Meaning it was repealed 5 years later. And then we had a
Yes,
new one.
what's happening?
2018, if amendments are needed, they can be made. And who will do it? The legislature will.
Parliament.
Ha.
All right, ma'am. All right.
You are welcome.
If you have any question you want to ask, you can ask it. because I thought if all the sections were taught to you at once, your mind wouldn't function that way. Therefore, it is essential to first see the introduction. Now you know its sponsor. That first there was CRC, then came our 2000. In 2000, our ordinance was not an act. The ordinance became an act in 2018. How you also find out the difference between an ordinance and an act. In this way, the age of juvenile has also been informed to you because the PPC has confused you, the CRPC has confused you.
If you have any questions, you can ask
No
them.
problem.
Maulana.
All right.
Where's the sugar?
Okay, thank you
So it happens
much.
on every ingredient.
And thank you so much.
Slowly, as I keep explaining the sections, today was our introduction, the introduction to you. It has become a bit clear. Please repeat and listen to it again. And if you people have written, that's even better because there are many things we don't remember. So we keep noting down, which will be our next feature. You will get clarity on how committees are formed, what courts exist, is bail granted or not to someone, how can you get bails in circumstances, how are they dealt with in juvenile cases. We will study further, God willing, and continue this lecture so that everything will be clear. And I would like for everyone to focus on this because the children are our country's future leaders. They have to run the country, so we will understand him slowly, God willing, till the end. Please allow me to take your leave. Thank you so much. Goodbye.